the root of the problem is the officiating is dog shit. Bert and the WNBA actually likes this shit.
Sophie Cunningham has now been fined 4 times this season. So, Sophie Cunningham, it happened again.
So, let me get this straight in the WNBA. You can elbow a superstar in the face, walk away without a fine, and no one bats an eye. But the moment someone speaks up about it, boom, $1, $500 fine. That's exactly what just happened again to Sophie Cunningham, who's now been fined 4 times this season, not for fouling, not for fighting, but for doing the one thing the league apparently hates the most, telling the truth. And Caitlin Clark, she's not just annoyed anymore, she's livid. 2 minutes ago, the WNBA thought it could quietly sweep another fine under the rug, but this time, it backfired. Sophie's podcast exploded, fans erupted, and now Caitlin Clark is done staying silent. The league punished Cunningham for defending Clark, for calling out terrible officiating that everyone watching on national television could see with their own eyes. And if you think this is just about one fine, think again. This is about censorship, power, and a growing war between the WNBA's front office and the players who are finally done being silenced. Sophie Cunningham didn't hold back, Clark didn't hold back, and now the fans aren't either. The officiating is a joke, the double standards are brutal, and this league is on the verge of full-blown revolt. This is the moment everything changes, and you're about to see why. Sophie Cunningham's latest fine wasn't just another slap on the wrist, it was a warning shot from a league desperate to keep control. But instead of backing down, Sophie lit a fuse. Let's rewind. On the 23rd of July, Sophie posted a TikTok jokingly calling WNBA referees useless. No profanity, no personal attacks, just a meme-level roast that fans ate up. But the league, they didn't laugh. They fined her $500 over a TikTok. That clip wasn't even aggressive, it was humorous, sarcastic, and honestly, way tamer than what fans scream from the stands every single night. But it didn't stop there. Sophie then mentioned the fine again, not on live television, not during a game, but on her own podcast. She said refs miss calls all the time. She admitted their job is hard. But she also asked the question fans have been yelling for months. When it's a simple call right in front of your face, what are you doing? And just like that, another fine. This time, $1,500. Because apparently, in the WNBA, honesty is a punishable offense. Sophie Cunningham isn't the only one speaking out. Caitlin Clark has been the face of the league, the star everyone loves to market, the rookie sensation, the one who makes the WNBA tick. But here's the kicker. Despite being the league's biggest draw, Clark has been elbowed, roughed up, and left to pick herself up off the court with no protection. No fines for those who attack her. Yet, Sophie Cunningham, in a simple act of defense, called out the refs for not doing their job, and the league hits her with a fine. Why? Because the WNBA doesn't want its dirty laundry aired. The truth is dangerous, and this league is terrified of the truth getting out. It's not about protecting professionalism, it's about controlling the narrative. If the WNBA wanted to protect the players, they'd be focusing on the lack of action against referees who let cheap shots fly. But no, instead, they slap fines on players for talking about it. And let's not forget, Sophie didn't go rogue. She didn't go off on a tangent. She simply said what every fan already knows. The refs need to do better. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Sophie Cunningham has become a movement, not just a player. Her podcast, Show Me Something, is pulling numbers and not just local attention, but national buzz. The irony? The very podcast where she was fined $1,500. It earned her more than $7,000 in one episode. The more the WNBA fines her, the louder her platform gets. It's not just about basketball anymore. It's about holding the league accountable for its hypocrisy. Every fine they hit her with only grows her audience. Fans are tuning in to hear her raw, unfiltered takes. They're buying her merch, they're signing petitions. And all the while, the WNBA looks more out of touch than ever. They thought they could silence her, but they've only turned her into an icon, a whistleblower in the world of professional basketball. Sophie's transparency is forcing the league's hand. They're reacting like they've got something to hide. But the reality is, Every time they try to shut her down, they only make her message louder. Let's talk about the real injustice here, the blatant double standards in the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham gets fined for calling out the referee's glaring mistakes, but Caitlin Clark is left on the floor with no protection. Where's the fine for the referees who ignore blatant fouls, especially when Clark's the one taking hit after hit? You'd think that with all the money the WNBA makes from her face on every jersey, they'd give her the protection she deserves. But no, instead, they're punishing the people who defend her. In a league that's supposed to stand for equality and fairness, this feels like anything but. So here we are, watching a superstar like Caitlin Clark get treated like a punching bag, while the league does nothing. It's the perfect storm. Sophie spoke up for Clark, and the WNBA responded the only way they know how, by silencing anyone who dares to question their authority. And now, fans are noticing. Fans are furious. They're rallying around Sophie because the truth is louder than any fine. Let's be real, the WNBA isn't punishing Sophie Cunningham for her words. They're punishing her for being a truth teller. Sophie's not the only one speaking up about the officiating issues, but she's the only one being penalized for it. The real issue is that the league's narrative is falling apart. Fans can see the cracks, and they're not happy about it. Every time Sophie calls out bad officiating or defends Caitlin Clark, she becomes the face of a movement that the league can't control. Her podcast is gaining momentum because it speaks to the heart of what players are thinking but can't say. So, what does the WNBA do? They slap fines on her to make an example out of her. But what they didn't count on was Sophie turning every fine into a badge of honor. She's become the voice for the players who feel like they have no choice but to stay silent. And as much as the league tries to control the narrative, Sophie's louder than ever. The WNBA is so afraid of being exposed that they're willing to alienate the very people who make the league worth watching. But it's not just about Sophie anymore. It's about every fan who's tired of watching the WNBA ignore its biggest stars. It's about the countless viewers who've seen the same thing happen over and over. The league refuses to protect its players. But now, the fans are fighting back. A petition has already started circulating, and within hours, hundreds of fans have signed it, demanding the league fix its officiating issues. That's how big this is. Sophie Cunningham is no longer just a player being fined. She's become the face of a movement against the WNBA's incompetence. And the best part, the league can't stop it. Every fine, every attempt to silence her only strengthens the fans' resolve. They're seeing through the WNBA's desperate damage control, and they're supporting the players who are brave enough to call it out. Sophie's speaking the truth, and now her voice is louder than ever. Fans are rallying behind her, and they're done standing by while the league turns a blind eye to the real problems. At the end of the day, the WNBA is doing far more damage to itself than Sophie Cunningham ever could. With every fine, the league isn't just punishing one player, it's alienating an entire fan base. Every time they try to silence her, they amplify her voice. They thought they could shut Sophie down with money, but they've only made her a symbol of resistance. It's become bigger than basketball. It's about fairness, transparency, and standing up to a league that's more interested in protecting its image than fixing its problems. And here's the thing, it's not just Sophie who's speaking out. Fans across the country are noticing the inconsistencies, and they're pissed off. When you're targeting the people who are the heart and soul of your league, you're not just hurting them, you're hurting your own brand. The WNBA might think they can control the narrative, but the truth is slipping out. And with every fine, every podcast episode, and every viral clip, the league is losing its grip. So let's be clear, they're not just punishing Sophie Cunningham, they're punishing themselves. And fans are loving every minute of it.